I don't even know. Like, all I know is this guy pops up and somebody messages me. Somebody's going to scam me.
You know you've made it.
Yeah, you know you've made it.
When?
Somebody tries to scam with your name. Like, it's a hard.
You didn't even care what the scam was actually about. Like,
Oh, there.
That mic. I don't know if there's a mic for the PA system here, but this is just for the live stream only.
Cool.
So if you're around here, it's cool. But if you're over here, people on the internet will be able to hear you.
Okay, so all right, cool. Do you want me to wear this or?
No, I think because some other people might talk, so
Okay.
I'll just have them stay around the podium. You don't have to stay here now.
Oh yeah, of course. There are other people going to talk. So. Okay, so but I mean, like standing here is fine, or
Yeah, you're standing around just anywhere near the mic is
All right.
fine. But like on the other side.
No. Okay, cool. All right.
But yeah, we have a PA system, but I don't know who has access to those mics.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's a lock there. That's like.
I was trying to open it. I was like, ah. Probably a flat.
We'll just leave that there. It's gonna be stashed.
Listen, where's the bathroom?
What?
The bathroom.
Right.
Cool. I'm just gonna go use it before I start talking, otherwise.
Yeah, of course. You're about to give a talk. Better safe than sorry.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Okay, start getting seats. Otherwise, we're starting without you. Hey. Hey, Paul. I'm good. Okay. Okay. Welcome everyone to the Dark Flob meeting. So for those that don't get it, this was our April Fool's joke a couple of years ago. I think it was our first. Yeah, no, it wasn't last year. It was 2015. It was 2015. Because 2016 we didn't do April Fool's because Warp Tangent died. Yeah, so we were bummed about that. So anyway, this is our April Fool's joke. He said we were renaming to Dark Flob. At the time we thought it was hilarious. We changed the logo on the website, and like a lot of people got really confused, except for 5 of us that thought it was hilarious. But yeah, today is actually the Monero meetup. And what we're going to talk about is some cool stuff and some important stuff. And it's also not just going to be me talking. We're also going to have Paul from Monero and Dan, who is somewhere there, down at the back, Pigeons. And they're going to be talking about some of the other stuff that I don't want to talk about. So, all right. So, for those that don't know me, I guess like this is the wrong audience to really say that to. But for those that don't know who I am Ricardo Spagni. You may know me as Fluffy Pony or Fluffy Pony ZA on Twitter and Reddit. You may also know me as that giant troll on Twitter, which is a much better way to describe myself. And so, I'd like to start off by just having a bit of a rundown about what happened in 2016, some of the cool things that happened with Monero, and some of the ups and downs. So at the beginning of 2016, in fact, January the 1st, we released Monero 0.9 Hydrogen Helix, which was a pretty major release. The blockchain was no longer in RAM. You could actually run a node with less than 8 gigs of memory. And that was like a major milestone for us. I don't know why we ended up releasing it on January the 1st, but we then did like a similar thing with the GUI going out like at the end of 2016. So I don't know, maybe that's going to become a thing. We did a fundraiser for the GUI at the beginning of 2016 as well in February. And we raised 14,000 Monero, which sounds like a lot of money, right? But at the time it was $7,000. And it was to pay for Ilya to work on the GUI for part-time for 6 to 12 months. So it wasn't that much money at the time, but looking back, it's like, well, okay, that was a lot of money to blow. Well, not blow, but spend. March we released 0.9.2, March we released 0.9.3. Apparently we were very big on point releases in 2016. April we released 0.9.4. And then also in March, Warp Tangent passed away. And for those that didn't know him, Warp Tangent was a contributor that worked on Monero like just of his own volition. He just pitched up one day and started hacking away at it. And we had no idea who he was or like what he did. And he was kind of cagey about it. And he did some pretty cool stuff. And sometimes he'd disappear for a few days. And then he'd just pitch back up and carry on working. And then eventually he was like, he said he's going away, or he's going to be away for a few days because he's quite sick. And that was the last time we heard from him. And then a few weeks after that, his dad got hold of me to say that he passed away, which was kind of a blow. Like not only because he was a great guy, or because he was working on stuff at the time, but just because losing a contributor as a young project with only a handful of active contributors is kind of devastating. And that was why in September we released 0.10 and we called it Wolfram Warp Tangent in honor of him and the work that he did. We also did quite a big fundraiser in June. We raised, 5,000 Monero for 0MQ, which is a project that's still ongoing. There's an open pool release that's going through some iterations, but that's been quite successful. September, MWR Labs found an exploit, which wasn't that much of a big deal, but they made it into a big deal. We patched it pretty quickly and sorted it out, and it was just sort of a way that somebody who's running an RPC wallet locally could be tricked into an RPC call sending funds. And that was kind of our first, the first time we'd had something like that happen, where somebody went and published their findings, and like we sort of had egg on our face and we didn't really know how to handle it. And we were learning and we were trying to figure out how to deal with these guys, because it creates a FUD storm, because you know how it goes. Everyone on the troll box goes, oh, look at them. Look, there's an exploit. Everyone's losing their money with Monero. And we've got to go like, no, that's not the case. And so that was kind of hard to deal with, because it was our first time that we'd had to deal with that. I think in future we'd probably handle it a lot better. October we did another fundraiser for Monero Moo, his third fundraiser for him to work on Monero. Like initially he didn't need didn't want a fundraiser, and he was like, well, I'm just fine working on it. And then he was like, you know, like actually it's not a bad idea to acquire some currency like as I go. And so we did. We did a fundraiser in October for Anonymal, the first full-time developer on a Monero project. He's working full-time on Carvery. And we raised over 7,000 Monero, which covers him for a year. Although at current prices, it covers him for like 3 years. But, but that's one of those things, you know, he scores because he raised funds early. It also did highlight one deficit of the forum funding system, and that is raising funds for somebody a year in advance can be good or bad. It can be really bad if they're expecting a certain dollar amount to cover expenses and then the price tanks. So in future, fundraisers like this will cover a much shorter period, like 3 months or something like that. And we'll just do progressive fundraising as we go rather than lock it in for an entire year. In October, we also did, we had a community member start producing little videos that explain Monero, and that was kind of cool and unexpected because, as you may or may not know, we refuse to spend money in marketing because we're, you know, it's a currency, like, what must we spend money on marketing for? And they went and produced this little video, and they wanted to produce some more, and they did a fundraiser that was quite successful. And then in December, we released the GUI. After, you know, like 2.5 years of people demanding it. And that was exciting, I guess, because it's always nice to push something out the door. So that's out in beta, and we've had some really good feedback and made a bunch of changes, and we're quite excited about the direction that that's going in. As for 2017, what's coming up in 2017, well, I don't know, it's an open source project, so, you know, we're just going to double everyone's coins. We will have a new Gnesis block. All the diamond members, your coins will be tripled. Enjoy your new Gnesis block. No, well, it's an open source project, so, you know, I'm not going to make any promises and say we will do anything, but some things that I'd like to see us do in 2017, I'd like to see the GUI make it from beta to a final release in less than 12 months. I mean, if it takes 12 months, you know, everyone will have to suck it up, but let's hope we can get it out a bit faster. I'd also like to streamline the way we help newcomers. I feel like sometimes newcomers are a little lost, and with the MyMonero support emails, like, I don't know if you see the MyMonero support email of the week that I sometimes put up on Twitter, but I get a lot of really bizarre emails. My favorite one that I had the other day was somebody that complained that they heard that Monero is rising in value and they didn't understand why their balance stays the same. So I got a bit snarky in my replies, but needless to say, I feel like, I mean, I have a canned email that I send back to people, and I direct them to Reddit, to the Slack, to IRC, to Telegram, to Stack Exchange, and I feel like a lot of them, some of them do. I see them then go ask the question again on Reddit or on Stack Exchange, but I feel like a lot of people find that quite daunting. And what I'd like to see us do is set up some sort of community help system, maybe a community ticketing system. Maybe we can use intercom.io or something like that, where people can, you know, just whenever they're available, they can assist people on a live chat system. And hopefully with that sort of one-on-one support, newcomers won't feel so lost. Because Monero is, I mean, Bitcoin's complicated enough as it is. Monero is a whole different level, and the fact that half the tools are CLI based doesn't really make it easy. And then I'd also like to see some lightweight stuff coming out, and that's what Paul's going to talk about in a bit. And also some infrastructure stuff that I'd like to see. I'd like to see us move to reproducible builds, which is a hard and moving target, especially given the fact that we support more than like one platform. And that's something that that Pigeons and everyone else, a lot of the other contributors, will just like hack away at until we figure out how to do it cleanly and neatly. Bitcoin's done a lot of that work for us with Gitian, but we still need to sort of figure out our own path and figure out how we can use Gitian in a way that allows other people to reproduce the build quite easily. Whether we have to slap it on top of Docker or something, I don't know. I'm not familiar enough with all of that to really be able to say. Obviously, don't take these as promises. There are no dates attached. If you have any questions, speak to Linda in HR or Bob Smith, our Vice President in charge of product enhancement. So, architecture. Architecture is everything. And to talk a little bit about architecture, I'd like to ask Dan to come up and flip through a few slides.
Hey guys.
Just tell me when to go to the next slide.
All right. I'm Dan Pigeons. I've been helping out with the architecture stuff. So Monero is a cross-platform project. We have developers that work on OS X, Linux. There's probably somebody who uses Windows. And, it works on my box thing. So we, at Fluffy's request, we set up build bot system where when a PR is made, the changes get compiled by the build bot, and we have builders on all the different platforms we support where it will build the binary and hopefully run some tests, and then it reports back to GitHub the success or failure. You may have seen on GitHub when somebody has a PR, there's like a little section with little red X's or green check marks on how those builds did, and that kind of gives people fast feedback like, oh, I guess that didn't even build, or it doesn't, I forgot that there's platforms where I need 32-bit. So that's what we've been doing there. These are all the platforms that we currently support with this system. Windows 32-bit being kind of a challenge. And the ARM 8 one, I know a lot of people are real interested in hacking on, and it gives them a chance to see that. One of the things we want to add, as Fluffy Pony said, reproducible builds. That's pretty important for trust and such. These are the platforms we want to add. Somebody's done a PR recently for Android build for both the daemon and the GUI, and some BSD love coming in, and that's what we've been doing.
So what I want to talk about next is Monero, which is the web wallet, unfortunately named because I completely forgot about my Bitcoin saga, and by then it was too late. And with Monero, we've had a lot of incidences, whether real or fake, of people saying, "Oh, I lost money on Monero," and claiming really large losses. We've also had incidences of like fake domains going up, and then they advertise on Google, and then people go and use the site on mymonero.io or whatever, and they end up getting their money stolen, and then they tell me that they're going to sue me and sue the world and write about it on Facebook because they lost 3.7 Monero. And I'm like, well, like that sucks, but how can we make it better? Because ultimately we can't control delivery of the JavaScript from the browser to the end user. So what we've been talking about and what we've been playing around with is making the backend, the Monero backend, available to everyone. In its current form, that's not feasible because it is a bunch of moving parts, and even though people will say, no, you don't need to support it, we will need to support it. So instead, we're going to re-engineer the backend, and we're going to do it in a stub that will exist alongside the CLI tools, and you'll be able to run your own Monero backend. So far, so good. The next thing that we'll do is we'll scrap the web interface, and we're building our client applications both for mobile and for desktop. And you'll be able to then use that instead of using the web interface. And then you'll be able to point those client applications to your own node instead of pointing it to the Monero backend, because why must Monero know your view key? And the way we're going to make this easy for people is once Kovri is integrated, your node will have an I2P address. And you'll be able to just scan a QR code. And that QR code will have the I2P address. And now your phone will know how to talk to your node at home. And we don't need to worry about firewalls and port forwarding because I2P will handle the hole punching through the firewall to connect to the I2P network. At least that's how it's going to work in theory. In practice, we're probably going to have, we're going to struggle a little bit with things like, you know, when you first start up an I2P node that has never connected to the network, it's going to be a bit chunky. But we'll figure out ways to bootstrap it as quickly as possible, especially on devices like smartphones. And with that, I'd like to call Paul to chat a little bit about some of the client stuff and what we've been doing there.
Hey guys.
Yeah, the down button means to go to the next slide.
Hey. So my name's Paul. I've basically been working on Monero for the past approximately 3 months or so. What I want to do today is tell you guys a little bit about some of the challenges that we've been facing, how we're trying to make Monero actually usable with Monero. I just want to sort of give a disclaimer that we're going to show you some screenshots of new designs. They're all like, you know, completely in transitive state. They haven't really been edited or anything like that.
And you're the first people to see them.
That's true, except for us.
Yeah, except for us.
So let's see here. What am I going to walk into here? So that's actually the first screen. But before I go forward, I just want to give you guys some background on why we set out to do this in the first place. So obviously, one of the problems with a web client is that we can't save anything locally. That has all kinds of downsides, such as the fact that you have to log back into Monero every single time you want to use it. It's also obviously a lot less secure because there's this like theoretical attack where anyone can inject JavaScript and you wouldn't really have any idea that that's what's going on. Also, obviously, the fact that you know, people have to load the data redundantly. Every single time you log in, you have to load the entire list of transactions and so on. But the fact is that a lot of the data in something like Monero or Monero, it's meant to be immutable. So it's meant to not ever change, which means we should be able to just download it once and just save it. So that should be a nice win. And that actually opens up a lot of possibilities for the coming version as well as some future versions that we'll release as well. So aside from all the new features that we can build with a dedicated app, the design goal of this new version is to be a Monero portal for regular people rather than crypto specialists. Ideally, the user would be able to have no information or should be required to have no information about the inner workings of Monero or about, you know, what various scam sites to avoid. People should be able to just grab the application and just use it confidently. So we get tons of support emails, like Ricardo mentioned, often about the same repeated issues. So we also saw that as a really important source of feedback and, you know, information about what to improve. So as a matter of fact, most people in the world hardly know what wallet addresses are. And things like a long mnemonic string that you can use to reconstitute your wallet from anywhere in the world are going to seem completely brand new to people. So we can hardly ask people to understand what view and spend keys are and like what payment IDs mean right off the bat, especially if we hope to like open Monero up to you know, sort of the general public. So the designer that we've been working with, who designed all these screens that you guys are going to see, is quite experienced at understanding new information architectures. And I actually must have spent like multiple hours on the phone with him going over, like, you know, just like basically the basics of Monero. And that should sort of give you guys an indication of how hard it is or how hard it's going to be for just ordinary people. So what I want to do is flip through a bunch of these screens, show you guys what we're dealing with. This is the page you're going to land on. You can create a new wallet or use an existing wallet. If you want to log into your existing wallet, something weird happened there, but you can obviously do this with your mnemonic. and that's going to just give you full access to your account. Or you can use the address and private keys. You'll be able to name your wallet, and that's important because this new application is going to allow you to have multiple wallets. It's going to save them to your disk. So this is if you're logging into your existing wallet with a mnemonic. You can choose the color swatch. This is if you're logging into your wallet with the address view key and spend key. So obviously, a lot of sensitive information is going to be saved to your disk. So what the application does is it encrypts everything with a password, saves it to a local database. So if someone grabs the database file, they're not going to be able to look at what's actually in there. Just some states. So this is if you're coming back to the application or it's timed out or something like that. You need to unlock the application. If you forgot at the moment, what this means is just that we have no way to recover that information. We might be able to do something about that in the future. If you're creating a new wallet, that's weird. I think
Oh yes,
might have been a copy.
I clipped some of it out, sorry.
It's all your fault.
I know, my bad.
Just like some, so this is actually one of the things I wanted to comment on. We made like a very concerted effort to fill in a lot of the knowledge gaps that people have by giving like really descriptive tooltips and copy throughout the application. Again, like this stuff hasn't even really been edited. Like our designer just kind of put this in. It's an effort that's in progress. But we're trying to like hold people's hand through the process, basically. So again, like a lot of people don't have any idea what a mnemonic is, or why it's important, or what the impact of forgetting it is. Trying to do a good job of actually explaining that to people. So obviously, like we want people to, or it's I guess necessary for people to confirm that they've actually written it down, and the way that we do that is by having them re-enter it. And one of the neat, like little tiny innovations that we've done on the UI here is that we already know when they're creating a new wallet, we already know what the set of words is. So we don't have to make them type it back in, they can just click on the words.
My Monero uses a 13-word mnemonic, another 25.
We're moving to 25. Yeah, we're deprecating 13 because the derivation is different. That's a whole nother discussion.
So, like I mentioned, it's going to support multiple wallets. You can have as many as you want. You might have one where it's like a savings account, another's like a checking account, something like that.
Are those possibly hierarchically deterministic, so that you're able to have view keys, etc., referencing all of your individual accounts?
So that you're able to have view keys referencing.
No, we haven't discussed doing a deterministic wallet for single seed.
This is different seeds for each individual account?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So each is a potential in the future, or are we not able to derive view keys?
No, we can. The problem is you might want to give somebody else access to a single account. And you don't want them to then slap a nonce on and then go to the next one. So deriving from a single seed is possible. We just need to figure out if that's really something that we want to do and the complexity it adds for ordinary users.
Cool. Thank you. Had no idea what you were talking about. So like I mentioned, people are going to have no idea what a view key is, what a spend key is. So taking a cue from various design gurus, we're hiding that information and letting people disclose it when they actually need to access it. The color of your wallet is going to sort of theme the detail pages throughout it. So those are there we go, those are the transactions there. Just scroll down. This is when it's disclosed, and you can obviously like copy the different things here so you don't have to select them. Editing a wallet. There are lots of screens. I'm just going to try to breeze through them. So this is a transaction detail screen. This is something really cool that I'm going to tell you guys about in a minute. But this is basically us associating transactions with the person.
How are you storing the memo?
The memo,
If this
Locally
is
on
the-
disk.
right.
Oh, okay, so
Yeah.
Yep, and I'll tell you something else cool about that too. One of the neat features that's coming up. Not all of this information is actually going to be in the first version necessarily. This is kind of just like designing like a language, like a visual language, and like seeing what we can get done in the first version. Okay, so this is a wallet that we didn't create with Monero. We created it, for example, on the command line or something like that, or in the GUI, and we've imported it, or we've rather added it to the application. And we'll be able to tell that they need to import it, so they can just click on that. And then, well, this is when they actually need to import it, because obviously if they haven't imported it yet, they wouldn't have any transactions. Some progress, like progress state. So this is sending Monero. You can select the wallet that you want to send it from, the fee, or this is going to be the approximate fee. You can select the privacy/mixin. And then here's another thing I'll tell you guys more about, but you can stick in an open alias address or an integrated address, and it's gonna try to resolve the payment ID from that. This is if you're entering a contact's name, and then it'll let you select that person. You can also you'll be able to select a QR code, or you can use the camera in case you've got it on your phone or something like that. So this is pretty cool. You can actually drag and drop a QR code onto the application, and it's just the same thing as having selected it from the file system. Okay, cool. So earlier, a few screens ago, if you had entered an integrated address or something like that, actually I don't see it on the screen, but it will give you the opportunity to save the contact. I think it might actually be when you hit send. Don't exactly remember what we settled on for that.
Yeah, they're posted, isn't it?
Oh yeah, yep, it's on its way. So this gives you the chance to save that address plus payment ID as a contact. If you didn't enter a payment ID, one would be generated for you. We're doing this little thing where we're giving each contact an emoji. It's like randomly selected. I'll tell you more about that in a moment. But well, actually, I guess I can tell you about it now. It's basically just because we can't really expect people to just have pictures of all of their friends laying around on their desktop. So emoji was kind of like a nice middle ground for now. We might do something in the future where you can put the Twitter handle in or something like that, and it'll just grab it from Twitter.
Do you have the poop emoji?
Yes, obviously. I mean, that's the most important one.
That's going to be weighted as one to be selected more often than not.
Exactly. Eventually, we're just going to mess with people and just let them select something else, but always choose the poop emoji. So this is if you use an open alias address. It's going to be resolving it in the background, trying to grab the address and the payment ID. This is actually not necessarily finalized right now, but might put this on the actual send screen. But part of the open alias protocol is that the user has a chance to confirm that this is indeed the correct address. So yeah, that's what it's going to look like. Okay, this is requesting Monero, the inverse of receiving. Obviously, you'll select the wallet you want to receive it to, put your memo in there, and then this is where you can enter the optional contact name that you want to request it from. And if you already have that contact, it'll grab the payment ID. So, so basically, what's going on here is that we're using the address book or contact records as a kind of loose abstraction over payment IDs, so that people have this more intuitive model that they can use to understand what payment IDs are all about. This is, again, creating a new contact within the flow of requesting. This is the generated request. Ricardo, give me my money for my dog. So these requests are going to also be saved locally as well. One of the cool things about that is, I'm actually going to show you the list of them. This is a list of all generated requests so far. So that's going to be pretty cool because in the future, one thing that we might be able to do with that is actually correlate transactions with those requests. So for example, if I'm a landlord and Ricardo is my renter of my apartment or something like that, I could send him a rent request, and every month he sends me the rent in Monero, and we could show oh, it's been paid for this month, things like that. the empty state. This is contacts, the contacts tab, the list of contacts. So you can associate an address and a payment ID, and here payment ID is going to be required, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Address can be an open alias address or an integrated address. Yeah, if you don't generate a payment ID, it'll be generated. Emoji picker. Oh, that's it. So I got some other things to chat about. I'm going to be looking at my laptop for a lot of this, so please excuse me for being very rude. But so we have a bit of work to do on the API to streamline it for usage in a downloadable application like this. We're also fixing some UX oddities like dates and values on pending transactions, things like that. A lot of features that we want to support as well, like syncing the encrypted versions of your contacts and other metadata with the server. I think we'll be encrypting it with the spend key, if I'm not mistaken. Basically a key ring, I think, so that you can share it across multiple wallets. That way you'll be able to access it from your phone as well in the upcoming mobile version. A lot of exciting things planned for the near future, and this new version will be a really, really good platform to develop all those cool things on. Just some minor tech things. I'm going to gloss over this, but we're using Electron, which is like a Node.js plus Chrome platform. That'll allow us to borrow a lot of the code that we're currently using without having to rewrite everything. Gets us to market faster. So I'm not sure how much of this to share exactly, but so I mean there were some interesting things about using Electron, like if you do anything computationally expensive on the renderer thread or the main thread, you're going to basically block the entire application. So had to figure out how to put that stuff in the background, which basically implied child processes and IPC through the processes. It's kind of ridiculous, but doing the networking on the renderer process to get support for proxies, it's kind of low-level stuff. Most of the application actually lives in the renderer process. Yeah, this is too detailed. But yeah, basically there's going to be minimal work to get the app ready for mobile and web. Right, so this is something I wanted to say to the community. The data is encrypted locally with a variant of RN encryptor, which is it's like a AES 256 protocol, symmetric key encryption protocol. I assembled a version of it that works for Node.js. For the purpose of speed, I turned down the PBKDF2 iterations from 10,000 to 150. And I also wrote this thing that allows you to encrypt multiple fields on a document, as we're using basically like a JS-only document data store to persist this stuff. It's been working mostly so far, aside from one or two quirks. But basically, I'm looking for additional eyes from the community to audit the crypto. It's something that I basically put together myself, except with like a bunch of inspiration from JS Cryptor, which is like another implementation of RN Cryptor. Also haven't really decided on a full test framework, so waiting until the code stabilizes a little more. Suggestions welcome, if anyone has test framework suggestions. Yeah, so yeah, I just want to say, been putting a lot of effort into building the code, or writing the code such that people are going to feel comfortable understanding it and contributing to it, because obviously this is going to be an open source client. Everyone can audit it, look at the code. There are also going to be, or there already are a bunch of components in the form of modules that people will be able to just pull directly out of the code base and use in your own wallet applications if you want to. There might be some opportunities to create libraries for this kind of thing in the future. Yeah, I guess I could talk more about other stuff, but yep, that's it. Thanks.
Cool. So yeah, I mean, as Paul mentioned, it is going to be open source, and it is JavaScript for the most part. So if you are familiar with JavaScript and you're a failed smart contract developer, then talk to Paul.
Yeah, thanks.
Yes.
Obviously, this is going to need some kind of blockchain server. I think you were talking about that before the presentation, but I went a little over my head.
So it'll use the Monero backend as is, but you can choose to use your own one as well instead of using Monero's backend. So if you run a node at home or at the office or whatever, you can speak to that, and excuse me, your node will store your view key and your encrypted data and whatever, and you'll never touch the Monero servers at all.
So Monero, you're maintaining some servers that do this.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's gonna max out really fast.
It is.
So that's definitely something we need to think about.
We
here, right?
well, the Monero okay. So with Monero at the moment, we have just under 60,000 accounts, and of those 60,000, about a third have actually received funds. I can't tell much more than that, but that's a fairly big whack of active accounts, and we're handling okay at the moment. So I think if it needs to scale, at the end of the day, I mean, Monero is a for-profit company. Okay, it doesn't make any money, but in theory, it's a for-profit company. So if it needs to scale, then we'll probably do, like, I don't know, we'll raise funds or something like that if we need to have a whole bunch of servers. But at the moment, the architecture and the way we've built it out, and the work Lee's done on it, where's Lee? Oh, there. The work Lee's done on the scan and that sort of thing, and improving it and so on, it's pretty lean and mean. And the fact that we can handle that number of simultaneous users, it sort of speaks to it. We're trying to strike a balance between, I'm a new user, I want to use this, oh, I've got the app on my phone, cool, I'm using it, and I'm a power user, I run my own node, and I don't mind using the app on my phone, but I wanted to talk to my node. And then obviously, like, the ultra paranoid user would never even do that. But at least there's, like, we're trying to provide these different levels, and this is the way to do it. Okay, so the last thing I wanted to talk about before I hand off to a very special guest speaker is I want to talk about what you can do to, like, I don't know, make Monero great again or something. And some things to think about. So the first thing is, I see a lot of people trying to canvas merchants. They go and pester merchants, and some merchants are good. Like there's merchants like Purism, for example, that I have been talking to me about accepting Monero for the Purism laptops, for the Librem laptops. Obviously, Proton Mail, that sort of crowd. Those are good merchants, that will set up their own node and will go through the effort of accepting Monero. But I mean, like, do we really need to canvas eBay, to accept Monero? Like, there's a point at which it becomes a little bit irritating for merchants. And also, we have services like XMR.2 and Shapeshift. So any merchant that already accepts Bitcoin, for them to go now and accept Monero as well is probably more hassle than it's worth. So, like, what I'm more interested in is not canvassing merchants. What I'm more interested in is, how do we help people earn Monero? How do we help people understand that it's a currency that they can say to someone if they're doing, say, freelance work, I would like you to pay me in Monero. Maybe that person says, no thanks, I don't want to, that's fine. But can we educate people so that, and newcomers especially, so that they go, I want to earn Monero, I have a desire to earn Monero, or are they just using it as a tool? Because obviously it is a currency and it works best when it's used, and it increases the anonymity set, so helping people earn Monero is critical. Also, are we helping people understand what it means to be your own bank? We say it a lot, but do people understand that? Do they understand what it entails? Do they understand the measures that their bank goes through to protect them? And do they understand that they're basically saying, don't worry, bank, I'll do that myself by running it on my smartphone or whatever. And so can we help them understand the difference between cold storage, between warm storage, between lukewarm storage and all the other names of storage? Can we help them understand what hardware wallets are? And this is not really just a Monero thing, it's also a Bitcoin thing. The number of new Bitcoin users I speak to that have no idea that they can, for very little money, go and buy a hardware wallet and use it to secure their funds a lot better than, my password is my birth date and my cat's name. And so this is stuff that we need to teach people. We need to help newcomers understand this. Similarly, are we educating people about the nuances of Monero? We get a ton of support requests from people that go, I sent money to Shapeshift, but I didn't include a payment ID. Okay, now the onus is on Shapeshift to support integrated addresses, sure. But then they say that the follow-on from that is, can you help me get my Monero back? And so the lack of understanding from newcomers when it comes to things like A, when you send a transaction you can't get it back, and B, the only person that can send it back to you is the recipient, is frightening. And that really points to us as a community that these people are coming on board and they're excited about the price, or they're excited about privacy or whatever it is, but they're not getting the information. They're getting like little splatters of information, and it's not enough to really help them understand how these things fit together. So can we help, another thing is, can we help newcomers to get over their irrational exuberance? Because that can be a little frustrating, especially when people come along and they're like, Monero is going to be bigger than Bitcoin. I'm investing my life savings into it. I mean, apart from that being like a really bad decision to make, it's also exceptionally dangerous because clearly they don't understand, like they're just excited. They've read about it and they've seen the prices increased and they wonder why there aren't more Moneros in their account just magically. So can we help people to at least be a little bit realistic, a little bit pragmatic, just because we don't want those people to then turn around a few weeks later and go, I'm walking away because, you know, my money was stolen on my Monero, or because the price decreased by 20% and this is terrible. So just stuff like that, you know, like I think it's important for us as a community to try and do. And then lastly, can we discourage people from viewing it as a typical investment? Because it's not a typical investment. Yes, you can use it as an investment vehicle. Yes, you can use it as a store of wealth, and then the value presumably at some stage might increase. But if you buy Monero, you're not investing in the Monero company, the Monero electrical bicycle company or whatever. You know, you're not paying my salary. And so I think we've got a really solid community, and the Forum fundraiser shows this, because people they buy Monero and then they go, oh, there's a fundraiser for this guy, let me donate a bit. And we need to keep encouraging that. We need to keep helping people understand that the only way their money is going to grow in value, if that's what they truly desire, is if they get stuck in and help the community, help the project. There's no value in just buying some and then going, oh, well, you know, why isn't it increased? And lastly, you're not going to win everyone over, or second last, you're not going to win everyone over, so don't stress about it. You know, you're going to speak to people who go like, oh, Monero is rubbish, it's a scam, the future is Dash. And like, you know, don't get upset. Don't get upset. It's like trying to argue with people over like politics and religion and all sorts of other things. You're just going to get yourself upset if you keep trying to argue with them. And besides, you already have me who trolls people on Twitter, so, you know. So really, above all, have fun. Because the reason that Monero is such a cool place or a cool community to interact with is because we do have fun. And I don't think we take ourselves very seriously in a lot of things, except for when we like write code and stuff. So that's cool. You know, let's have fun and let's enjoy ourselves. So that's all I have to say. Thank you very much for having me. And now next up is a very special man who's going to talk to us about why the Monero price is going to rise and why you should invest all of your money in Monero right now. American Pegasus.
My name is American Pegasus. Some of you already know me. If you don't worry, I'm not of that great import. I just wanted to say, and take a few minutes here at the end of this, to say that so many times in history has the course of our entire species, civilization, it's been changed by a dusty room full of men and women that just came together and put their talents together into one endeavor. And we can't even calculate the importance of some of those projects. When a handful of people got together and said, you know what, maybe maybe the monarchs don't have a divine right to rule. I know that's a radical idea. A few people got together and said, hey, what if if we took this informational exchange, this telephone, and took it to the next level? Who can calculate the proper value and the proper effect that the internet has had on our lives? I think it's safe to say none of us would even be here without it. And yet those people back in the 60s and 70s developing that technology, some of them, they got so into the technicals, so into the details. I hope they understood what they were doing. They were changing so many lives for the better. What we're doing right now, it's not a company. It's, as Fluffy said, it's not Monero the company. But I don't think it's any stretch of the imagination to say what's happening in this room right now, the talent, is more important than any startup out there in San Francisco. Silicon Valley, I would say with maybe a couple of peers on the global scale, this is probably one of the most important things that is happening in our species right now. And I say species because eventually maybe we'll extend it to robotics and AI as well, but we'll call it civilization altogether. I once said that Bitcoin was a ruthless financial virus that would not stop until it consumed all value on Earth. The one thing I didn't expect was that it would mutate. And that's what we have. Just like when you have those games where you have the virus that mutates due to selection pressures, well, selection pressures have mutated Bitcoin to what we see today. A more stealthy, a more advanced, a more vicious technology. That's what Monero is. It's simply the evolution of Bitcoin, and without going into the other blockchains and why every other project out there, besides maybe the original Bitcoin and a couple of derivatives of it, are absolute jokes. Absolute jokes from the social, financial, political side of things. And you are here. You are here with the one future project that has the capacity to radically, violently change the financial and political landscape. And here's the beautiful part, is that if a viciously disruptive technology is going to exist, it was always going to exist. It's just the inevitability of our progress. The internet was always going to exist. It was just a question of who was going to get there first, who was going to popularize it first. Monero, as it is, if it's mathematically possible and useful to us, it was always going to exist. But here we are. We're building it. Every single person in this room is so unstatably important to this project. The coders, the people who ask enlightening questions on Stack Exchange, the people who shitpost and just post, hey, you know what? If your skill is to take MS Paint and make a funny image, you just did something super valuable, because the meme economy is exploding, ladies and gentlemen. In case you haven't noticed. I am super humbled to be part of this, and even though I'm not a cryptographer by trade, my only skill was a healthy disrespect for authority growing up. I cannot express my genuine appreciation to be among your company. Thank you very much for having me.
And now we eat.
We're wrapped up.
And we drink wine.
To the sushi, yeah.
Thanks very much.
Dig in.